Am I the asshole for telling my wife her parents will die? I, 39M, and my wife, 36F, have been together for 14 years and have what I consider a great marriage. We very rarely have arguments and in general have a pretty good life. My wife had a pretty good, middle-class childhood, no major issues other than the typical stuff you experience as you grow up. Her parents were loving and did the best they could for her and her brother. There are no buried secrets or hidden abuses. I don't believe either my wife or her brother ever even got spanked. Her parents are divorced but still on great terms with one another and with the family at large. They live about 1,200 miles away from us, so we don't see them as often as I would like. Her parents have always been there for us and on more than a few occasions have helped us financially when we needed it. Honestly, they are a somewhat boring Hallmark Channel family and I cherish it. Shortly after getting married, my father passed away and my mother passed about a year later. I was very close to both of them and the loss was terrible. I often think about every time I didn't pick up the phone to call them or would put off a visit because I'd do it next time. My wife is really terrible about being in contact with her family, but especially her parents. She just doesn't make an effort. I will often ask her if she has spoken to anyone and she just says, "I will later," and then never does. Sometimes weeks go by and she won't reach out to them at all. Her mother made a comment once that she knows everyone is busy but she wished her children would reach out a little more. It drives me crazy that she just doesn't try. There is no reason. I could understand if they had been bad parents or had done something to her, but that isn't the case. When I ask her why she won't do it, she says she doesn't need to. I told her a few weeks ago that I encourage her to speak to her parents because I miss mine terribly and I really regret every missed opportunity. I just don't want her to have the same regrets. She said just doesn't feel that way and kinda moved on without saying much more. Her parents sent us some money to cover an unexpected medical bill and I thanked them but told my wife she really should reach out and at least say thank you. She said she would, later. I am embarrassed to say that I got angry and I said, "You know, they'll be dead someday and there won't be a later." She began crying and told me that I was cruel and should never have said something like that. I apologized to her profusely and again told her I just have my own baggage from my parents and it gets to me sometimes. I told her I just want her to use the chances she has now. She told me she will never be able to forgive me and that she will always think about how cruel I was to her. I know I messed up, but I still don't understand why she can't just speak to her parents. Am I the asshole? You could just start giving her parents regular calls. It sounds like they are nice people. I know I had to give a judgment, but I feel like neither of you are. So I'll say no assholes here. I lost and miss my dad so much. I was living away from him and my mom and I regret not coming home more. Not spending more time with him. I can't make someone feel the way I do, and I get where you are coming from, but life does get in the way and maybe that's just the way your wife is. My thought is that you should call. Sounds like you have a good relationship with them. Maybe if your wife sees you calling and chatting away with her mom and dad, she'll talk to them more. Lead by example, my friend. It's not weird to give them a call and ask how they are. Talk to her pop about football or something he enjoys. Might be helpful for you two to connect. Edit to add the correct judgment. You are the asshole. I just don't want her to have the same regrets. She said just doesn't feel that way and kinda moved on without saying much more. Stop projecting. I am embarrassed to say that I got angry and I said, "You know, they'll be dead someday and there won't be a later." It's not an immutable fact that your wife is going to outlive them. She could easily go first. Not the asshole. You're right. They will die. She will regret not reaching out more. From experience, if your spouse has lost both their parents and gives you their thoughts about your relationship with yours, take them seriously. I hope your wife comes to understand your perspective, because it is rooted in love and concern. Best wishes to all involved. You are the asshole. Her relationship with her parents is for her to manage. Phones work two ways. Her parents also have the opportunity to call. Am I the asshole for not pushing for my wife to have a bigger role in my daughter's wedding? My ex and I weren't together very long when we had our daughter Riley. We broke up while my ex was still pregnant. A year and a half later, my ex married her husband, Philip. Riley was with me every Tuesday and then every other weekend, with split holidays. As she lived with her mom and Philip more, he became a father figure to her. She doesn't call him dad, but has made it clear she thinks she has two dads. I have never been threatened by Philip and have a lot of respect for him. He, my ex, and I get along well. I married my wife when Riley was 13. While the two of them get along, they aren't as close as she is to Philip. I know she doesn't consider her another mother figure. I was also okay with this as Philip had been in my daughter's life longer and was around her. Riley was always very polite and considerate towards my wife. I could tell my wife was hurt they weren't closer, but I didn't want to push the issue. My wife and I had a son together. Now, Riley is in her mid-20s and is getting married. I'm walking her down the aisle, with Philip on her other arm. My son is going to be a junior groomsman. My ex is being escorted by her father down the aisle as well. Riley's siblings from her mom's side are also in the wedding party. When my wife asked Riley what her role was, my daughter said she wanted her to sit up front and she'll be in family photos. My wife asked about a special dress and Riley said they could go shopping together, but she didn't care what she wears, she doesn't have to match the bridal party or anything. My wife is very hurt and wants a larger role in the wedding. She wants to walk our son down the aisle, but Riley said her sister on her mom's side who's close in age with him is walking with him as they're a junior bridesmaid. My wife kept suggesting other ways she could walk down the aisle and Riley gently shut her down. I wasn't here for this conversation and only found out about it later. My wife came to me and says I need to convince my daughter to give her some role in the wedding. I say it's my daughter's day and I'm not going to tell her who gets what role. She'll have the opportunity to do mother of the groom stuff when our son ever gets married. She said that Philip has a big role, he even gets a dance with my daughter at the wedding, we're splitting the song so I get half, Philip gets the other. I pointed out that Philip has been in her life since she was 10 months old and helped raise her. They don't have that dynamic. My wife is now very upset with me and says I'm enabling my daughter, excluding her. I really don't feel this is my place. Am I the asshole for not pushing the matter more? Not the asshole. Your wife is acting very childishly. I understand that this hurts her feelings, but she needs to understand that you cannot force people to feel a certain way about you. Trying to force them to perform like they do only further harms your relationship. Her wedding is not about your wife. She'll just need to accept that. Not the asshole, and props to you for being extremely cool with your daughter wanting to include Philip to such a degree. I have to say that as a recent bride, I don't forget the people who made my wedding planning more stressful, and I remember the ones who were supportive of my choices. Your wife will likely never get the relationship she wants with Riley if she tries to push these issues at her wedding. I say it's my daughter's day and I'm not going to tell her who gets what role. Not the asshole, that's the mature line of thinking. Your wife's response is not. Why people feel the need to make other people's big day about themselves is beyond me, and all she is going to do if she persists is actually get herself excluded. Not the asshole, your wife is entitled to her feelings, but she needs to be realistic here. She is not being excluded. She's just not being honored. She can either get over it and attend with a smile, or she can stay home and forever create a rift. Your wife is right, you are enabling your daughter to be a grown adult who is allowed to make decisions about her wedding. Not the asshole. Regarding you and Philip, it's so refreshing to read about an excellent co-parenting relationship that is all about supporting the child. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole because I refuse to drive my coworkers home without compensation? I, 25M, have been accepting requests from coworkers to give them a lift home whenever possible. I never asked for any compensation since it is only about a 15-20 minute detour. But, about a month ago, I finally had the opportunity to buy a new car. Beforehand, I had a 1999 Ford Fiesta. It was my first car, and I barely spent any money on gas. I don't have many financial responsibilities, so I chose to enjoy being a young man with a decent salary and bought a supercar. I love my new car, and so do my coworkers, which means a lot more requests started coming my way for lifts home. I've worked at my current job for about 6 months, and I've probably done over 100 detours to make my coworkers happy. Here's the problem. Not once have I been offered any form of compensation from any of them, even though they would have had to pay for public transport if I didn't offer them a lift. Now, my new car is quite a bit more expensive than my old one, which means it does not drive that far km/l, approximately 12-13 kilometers/l. Apparently, this is completely otherworldly for my coworkers. Today, I said no for the first time. I got asked if I could give them a lift, and I said, sure, if you pay me the fee you would have to for public transport, I'll drive you home. And this did not sit well with them. I think I'm being as fair as possible, since I don't want to keep losing money by giving them a free service that they don't seem to appreciate. So, am I the asshole because I won't give free lifts to my coworkers anymore, since it's becoming a financial burden on me? Not the asshole, but I think it's how you said it that didn't sit well. It would have been okay if you said, hey, I should have mentioned this earlier, but after giving lifts out of the way for so long, I do need $X because of the detour and gas. I'm sure you understand. I used to give lifts all the time and they'd either pay for groceries, we'd shop after work, or they would buy me lunch or dinner. To have done this so many times and been offered absolutely nothing is bananas. Not the asshole, but it's weird you're calling it compensation or a fee, and that might be turning people off. Normally people ask for gas money. Basics rule of etiquette in carpooling is always offering gas money. Not the asshole. Old saying. Ass, cash or grass. No one offered to help before but 100 detours. Yeah, you are fine. And yes, that is the saying. Not the asshole. You're not their Uber or Lyft. Don't be giving rides for free like that. And yes, 15-minute detour after work is definitely an inconvenience. Not the asshole, and good on you for setting a reasonable request. It's no more than they would have spent anyway, for greater comfort, convenience, and time saved. However, you've been sacrificing all of that this entire time, and it is going to be jarring to some folk when you no longer desire to do so. Not a single offer to buy you a meal? Burger or a coffee? No thank you snacks from home to show appreciation? Nothing? That's wild. Edited for spelling. Not the asshole, but I think you kinda handled it awkwardly. Comparing it to a fee for public transport is definitely going to make it come off like you're mad that you're having to take them places, not that you are actually just losing money on stuff. The normal, socially acceptable way to ask for this is to go, hey, could we set up a gas money pool if I'm going to be driving this pretty regularly? Just ask for like, $15 a week. Or whatever you think is a normal carpool fund and makes sense, for gas from each of them, since that should comp both gas and wear and tear, and that will be cheaper for them than Uber and better for you than driving for free. If they don't go for that, then it's their loss. Am I the asshole for kicking my mom out of my wedding after showing up uninvited? I, 26 female, have been estranged from my mom for almost 3 years now. I cut contact with her after finding out she stole $10,000 from me and put me on over $50,000 debt by stealing my SSN. She has always been very emotionally abusive, and she has tried everything in her power to split up my husband, 27 male, and I before we got married. For these reasons, and more, I decided not to invite her to my destination wedding. Last week was the big day, and about an hour before the ceremony, my maid of honor lets me know that my mom has shown up uninvited. Meaning she flew across the country to knowingly crash my wedding. I had my mo bring her to the bridal suite, then I spoke with her privately and told her that if she doesn't leave, I will make a scene and embarrass her in front of her entire family. She cried and gaslit me, but inevitably left. After the ceremony, several family members confronted me about it and told me I'm in the wrong and that I should have just let her stay because she just wants to see her first daughter get married. I know this wasn't the reason, that it was just a power move to reinsert herself into my life. Her side of the family has been blowing up my phone since, telling me I'm wrong and that my husband and I need to apologize. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Last week was the big day, and about an hour before the ceremony, my maid of honor lets me know that my mom has shown up uninvited. Meaning she flew across the country to knowingly crash my wedding. I had my mo bring her to the bridal suite, then I spoke with her privately and told her that if she doesn't leave, I will make a scene and embarrass her in front of her entire family. She cried and gaslit me, but inevitably left. She is trying to get back in your life and it sounds like you are much better off without her in your life. Time to go NC with all family members who won't pay attention to the boundaries you have in place. Good luck op, and congratulations on your wedding. NTA. It only took me 30 seconds to read the title first paragraph to decide that, but OFC I did read the entire thing. She stole her SSN and put you on a countless amount of debt and showed up uninvited, she deserved it. She should have respected you when you wanted her out of your life because of what she did. What she did was wrong and not negotiable in my opinion. Don't feel bad, and IW would have done the exact same thing. Not the asshole. Though what you should have done was report her for identity theft when you found out that she'd stolen $60,000 from you 3 years ago. That level of abuse 100% deserves reporting, and that would have erased the $50,000 of debt and made it so the judicial system would enforce her paying back the other $10,000. Not the asshole. Ask family. Apologize for what? For stealing $10,000 from my daughter? No, that was my mom. For stealing my daughter's social security number and putting her in $50,000 in debt? No, that was my mom. For trying to break up my daughter's relationship? No, that was my mom. For flying across country to crash the wedding of 2 people I tried unsuccessfully to break up? No, that was my mom. What exactly do I have to apologize for? Not the asshole. You drew a hard-line boundary and she crossed it. If your family continues to bring it up, ask them to pay the $60,000 that she stole from you. Hopefully that'll shut them up. Here is my Venmo and my Cash App. Anyone who feels I should forgive her can repay the $50,000 she stole. Why isn't she in prison? Not the asshole.